When we want to talk about two actions that both happened in the past, we often use the past perfect or the past perfect progressive, which is also known as the past perfect continuous. Do you know the difference between these two tenses? Let's find out. Ellii. To compare the past perfect and past perfect progressive, we'll start with a look at the form and function of these tenses. We'll also see some common time markers. Then, we'll see some examples and wrap it up with some practice to see how much you've learned. Let's start with how we form the past perfect and past perfect progressive in English. We form the past perfect tense by using the auxiliary verb had plus the past participle form of the verb. The past participle of regular verbs is formed by adding ed, while irregular verbs undergo various types of changes to the middle or ending of the verb. To form the past perfect progressive, we use the pattern had plus been plus an ing verb, which is also known as the present participle. Now let's talk about the function of these two tenses. When and why do we use the past perfect and the past perfect progressive? The past perfect is used for two completed actions that occur at different times in the past. We use the past perfect tense for the action that is further in the past and the simple past for the action that is more recent. For example, in the sentence, the restaurant had run out of my favorite dish by the time I arrived. The action, had run out, happened before the action arrived. Like the past perfect, the past perfect progressive also shows two actions that occur in the past. The difference is that the first action continues to the second past action. We use the past perfect progressive tense for the continuing past action and the simple past for the more recent completed action. For example, in the sentence, water had been dripping from the ceiling for days by the time they noticed the leak. The action, had been dripping, happened first and continued up to the action noticed. Now let's talk about time markers. The main time markers for the past perfect and past perfect progressive tenses are very similar, but there are also additional, optional time markers that can help you distinguish between these two tenses. Let's take a look. Time markers are one or more words that show the time when an action takes place. Common time markers for the past perfect include by the time, when, before, and after. Note that typical past time markers, like yesterday, last, and ago, are often additionally used in the sentence. The time markers for the past perfect progressive also include by the time, when, before, and after. Note that additional time markers like for, since, and all are also typically used to show a continuing action. The main time markers appear at the beginning of the clause with the simple past verb. For example, we can say, the judges had already announced the winners by the time, when, or before they handed out the trophies. The same thing is true for the past perfect progressive. For example, we can say, the athletes had been celebrating their win for half an hour by the time, when, or before the judges handed out the trophies. Did you know that the time marker after is different? It only appears at the beginning of the clause with the past perfect verb, or, less commonly, the past perfect progressive verb, and not the clause with the simple past verb. Let's see those examples again with after. The judges handed out the trophies after they had announced the winners. The judges handed out the trophies after the athletes had been celebrating their win for half an hour. Okay, it's time to see the past perfect and past perfect progressive tenses in context. Let's look at some examples. My boss had left the office by the time I returned from a late lunch. The action that happened first is my boss left the office, so that gets the past perfect form, had left. The second action that's more recent is that I returned from a late lunch. I hope I don't get in trouble. You can also start the sentence with the dependent clause that contains the simple past verb, but don't forget that you'll need a comma. These two sentences have the exact same meaning. He had been training for a marathon before he broke his ankle. The first past action is the past perfect progressive action, had been training, and it continued up until the second past action, broke, which is the simple past tense. Like with a past perfect sentence, you can also start a past perfect progressive sentence with the dependent clause that contains the simple past verb. Let's look at one more set of examples. Had you had dinner by the time your friends got to your house last night? In this past perfect question, the speaker is asking if you ate dinner before your friends arrived. A past perfect question always starts with the auxiliary verb had, even when the main verb is also have. As usual, you can switch the order without changing the meaning. We hadn't been working on our project for very long when our teacher asked to see it. A negative past perfect progressive sentence is formed with had plus not plus been plus an ing verb. You can also switch the order of these clauses. Are you ready for some practice? Say or write the past perfect or past perfect progressive verb form. Think about the meaning and look for additional time markers to help you choose the best tense. Look at the verb in parentheses. Which tense do you need? The past perfect or the past perfect progressive? The answer is, by the time they arrived, we had been waiting at the airport for 3 hours. The additional time marker for 3 hours means we need the past perfect progressive tense. Let's try another one. Before the storm hit the city, they had already canceled the playoff game. That's it. These two actions happened at different times in the past, so we need to use the past perfect. Ready for another one? The students all turned in their homework this morning after the teacher had threatened to fail them yesterday. The action had threatened was completed before the students turned in their homework. Now, how about this one? I had been interviewing candidates all week before I found the right person for the job. You got it. The additional time marker all week helps us choose a continuing action. Okay, last one. My best friend hadn't or had not told me her big news before I saw it on social media. Even though the first action, hadn't told, didn't actually happen, the timing of the action is still further in the past than the second action, saw. Good job! Now you know the difference between the past perfect and the past perfect progressive tenses. See you next time, and happy studying. Ellii.